Hi, my name is Don Decker, and we're going to take a little bit of time to talk about associations. What are they? Why would we want to use them? And how do they work? Basically, in this example, I have three agencies that are part of an association. We have Don's Pantry, we have Pantry B, and Pantry A. Now, I'm the owner of Pantry B. That's my pantry. I'm just pretending, but let's just pretend that. Pantry A is an agency down the street, maybe 2 blocks away. Don's Pantry is a pantry, maybe the other direction or somewhere close by me. But point being, they're all owned by different agencies. And that's the important thing. So each database is a private database. We're not sharing data back and forth. All we're doing is recording a visit and then being able to view that visit based on if there's an address match. That's all an association does. And it's generally used if you want to do some limiting. Now, that's not the only way, but a lot of people will use it for things like financial assistance, to where what they want to do is they want to pay their rent or help them pay their rent, but they don't necessarily want all three agencies in the same month to pay their rent, right, for that month. Right? So in this case, things like associations really, really help on the financial side, because that way you can manage limitations and also limit based on other association members' visits for that same household based on address. Now, you don't have to do the limit. The limit is optional. You can have it show you and limit, or if you want to do an override, you can still do that. Just be aware we're not monsters. We're not trying to not feed people. But when it comes to food, we generally don't recommend an association. But here's a use for associations that can be very, very handy. Knowing what your limits should be. And if you have a group of agencies in a confined area, like maybe in a city or something like that, and they're all part of this, what you can do then is you can record the association visit. So when a client goes from Pantry A to Pantry B, then you would record that. Oh, that's an association visit because they've been to both. Or Don's Pantry would also record an association visit on top of the regular food visit, let's say. Now, all these are designed for food, so we're linking food together, and that's the scenario we're looking at. And what we're trying to do is we're not trying to limit, but we are trying to understand what the patterns are for households to go to how many different agencies and how often they do that. Because sometimes we might find that maybe we're not offering enough opportunities for food in a period. So maybe for once a week, maybe we need to bump it to 2 a week. But we don't know if we need to do that until we have a better understanding of what that movement of clients throughout your association of agencies is. So collecting data is really the good goal for this, and I hope you all consider that. Like I said, it's not to say no, you have to be hungry. It's yes, let's feed you. But at the same time, let's understand what's happening. And that's the most important thing that we're trying to do with the food association. Now, it basically works by address, like I said earlier. So if Pantry A has a visit of an address, and then they come to Pantry B, the exact same address, and I'm doing my checks by address, and I'll show you this stuff in a little bit, then that would be triggered as an association visit if they're outside of my limit, my set limitations. So maybe I'm twice a week or once a week or once a month or 4 times a month or whatever, right? You can set that however you want. That's a unique thing in our system. Now let's just kind of look at some of these. We're going to go to Pantry A, and we're going to see that we're going to have some visits here. Like today we had a visit right here in Pantry A. So Don showed up at Pantry A. And Don's address is 329 West Cactus Road, as you can see. Now, let's say Don goes to Pantry B. So if I go here, do I have anyone checked in today? No, I just have an anonymous client, guest number 51. All right. So with that being the case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to search for Donnie Decker. So I'm going to do DE, see if Don is in here. And yes, I do have a Donnie Decker. And if I look at the address, yes, they are the same address. Now in this case, I can check pantry food. There's no alerting me that there's an association visit, even though if I look at history, I do see an association visit. So we can easily analyze this. So on the 12th, Don received at Pantry Food A, food at Pantry A, and also received it at Pantry B on March 12th. That was last month, right? This month, in April, they received this visit, they received food today at this location in Pantry A. But what pantry am I? I'm in Pantry B. So I'm actually looking at that history, and I can see that Don received in Pantry A. So now I guess the question is, why is he not being limited? Why is it not saying exceeded uses here? Well, that's probably because of it tests against my limitations. So whenever you have an association visit where a client has been to another agency, it's not going to look at the limitations for that other agency. It's going to look at the limitations for you. And is there a visit within that limitation period? Right? That's what it's going to look for. So understanding or knowing your limits is really important. So if I go to settings, tracking methods, and I look at my pantry food, I'm going to see right here, I allow 2 times a week. Interesting. So if I allow 2 times a week in Pantry B, when I have Dawn pulled up, now it makes it very clear as to why they're not being limited. Because they've only had 1 visit this calendar week. So they had 1 visit on April 24th. So if I go to the calendar, April 24th, and as you can see, during this period, they've had 1 visit. Now remember, his visit won't show here because I'm in Pantry B. I'm not going to see Pantry A's data because we're private databases. So even though I don't see anything, and I have Dawn pulled up, let me look at what date I have pulled up here. Let me look at this. I have the 22nd. So now let's just do this differently. Let me just change this date, and I'm going to go to today's date, 24th. That might make a little more sense, and I'll choose my daily pantry food. Now let's pull up Dawn again. So let me do this, DED. Oops. Pull up Dawn. There we go. So now the same thing. Dawn can receive food. It's not an issue. Same deal, though. If I look at my history, he's only had 1 on the 24th at A, not B, A. The one in March is last month, so that doesn't even apply, right? So, and since I offer 2 times a week and 1 is taken already by Pantry A today, I am eligible to give him pantry food without any issue. So I go ahead and do that, and I save my visit, and they're done. Now, if I look at history, and I can see now, this week, Pantry A is given Dawn food, right? Pantry B is now given Dawn food. So there's 2 times in a week. Now, what's going to happen if I try to give food for Dawn maybe tomorrow? So let's change the date. So let's say a Friday distribution. We're doing our standard distribution. I'm going to pull up, and Dawn shows up. Here's Dawn, right? Dawn comes to get food, and now he's in exceeded uses. Now, remember we talked about them only having, or them allowed 2 visits in a week for Pantry B. So if I look at history, I can see that in April 24th, which is the week we're in, he has 2 visits, but one's at B and one's at A. Now, remember what I was saying is that it doesn't look at another agency's limitations. It just looks at, are there any association visits made in the period of my limitation? And my limitation is twice every week. Now, Pantry A could be very different, but I don't know Pantry A's limitation. It's irrelevant. What I need to know is what Pantry B's limitation is. And I allow 2 times a week, so here we go. 1 in mine and 1 at A equals 2 times a week. So we're done. I can't do a third. Now I can, that's not true. But in this case, if this is okay for you, what you're going to do is you're going to run it like normal. You're going to choose pantry food anyway, but you'll also choose the association visit because this is one of those exceeded uses cases. And I think this is what we're going to be recording to better understand what's happening. So we're not saying anything to the client, oh, you can't come out, oh, you can't. We're not saying any of that. We're just going to mark it. We're going to do an association visit and then answer any other questions that need to be done. Is this your first time here? No, I've been here before. Okay. And then association visit. Now, this is another way of identifying an association visit. So here we made it a tracking method so that we can run our reporting that way off of association visit tracking method. But if I would rather not have that and then just toggle this to yes if it is an association visit and then just check the pantry food and save, you can do that too. But having this and association visit tracking method is really doubling your effort, so don't do both. I'm just showing of two different options. So once I go ahead and hit save, it's going to want you to do an override. Do your credentials, right? You can also save these so they don't have to be done each time manually. And now I've given the visit. So now if I look at history, you're going to see that April 26th, Dawn got a pantry food for food, pantry B, and Dawn also got an association visit. But association visit doesn't count against anything because we allow that every day. Just to record it. That's all we're doing. Now pantry B, as you can see, has an April 26th and April 24th. And they have a pantry A on April 24th. So technically this week, this person's come 3 times, right? Now you could do the limit or you could not. It's totally up to you. But ideally, I think initially, you want to analyze it and see how much of it comes through. Are you seeing this kind of thing? Because what's happening here is that if I order changes, right? Let's do another one. Let's go to pantry A. We're going to go here, pantry A. Remember, I wouldn't normally do this because I don't own it. And I'm going to pull up another client. I'm going to pull up Terry Smith. Terry Smith exceeded your uses. If I look at her history, she's got a pantry A visit on April 22nd, 2024, and she's got a pantry B, which is on the 22nd, which is 2 days ago, and then pantry A on the 12th. So because this agency, let's see what this agency allows. I'm going to go look. So settings, I allow 1 time a week at this agency. So when I go back and pull up Terry, she's exceeded uses because she's had her 1 visit this week, but at pantry B. See how that works? I'm pantry A in this scenario now because that's who I am, pantry A. I'm at a different location now, right? But they've been to pantry B first. When they've gone to pantry B first, I only allow 1. So that is the 1 time because this counts as one of mine, this B one. Now, once again, we can do what we want. I would mark it an association visit and give them food anyway because we're just trying to understand what the migrations are, pantry to pantry to pantry to pantry. Do they go and cycle through once a week, once a month, 4 times a week? We don't know. These are all unknowns. So to better understand what's happening, these are the kind of little tricks that we can do to help identify it through collecting data. Not saying no. We're not saying no. We're just collecting data, right? So once again, is this your first time here? And then she's going to say yes or no and mark it accordingly. Once again, if I'm not doing association visit on top, maybe I'll do it down here with this kind of field, right? Take any signatures, whatever else you got to do, save your visit, and then do your override. Once again, if you want, your admins can set up a generic one for doing overrides, I guess, or maybe you can just save yours to it that you can do an override, or maybe if you have a main person that does, I don't know. We'll have to work through that, and we're happy to help you work through that. All right, so I've done the override, and you can see now they have food. If I look at history, they have now a visit at Pantry A for an association visit, but that's not food. Remember, that's different. It's just a data collection point, and it means nothing other than you'll run a report against it to see the list of people that you've identified as an association visit. Pantry food is what they came in for. And you can see I'm at Pantry A, right up here, Pantry A, and they came in at Pantry A. But 2 days ago, they also hit Pantry B. And because I have this association, it lets me see this, right? It lets you see their activity at different agencies. So if they've also gone to Don's Pantry, I'd see that too, right? And Don's Pantry would see Pantry A and Pantry B visits, and same with Pantry B. They would see Pantry A and Don's Pantry visits. So basically all you're doing is letting you see any visit activity at other agencies within that associated group. That's all it's doing. Whether you limit it or not is totally up to you. So those are the kind of things that you want to decide. And we're just hoping that you use this to best analyze what's going on. And then from that, you can decide, do we enforce limits? Do we just offer more opportunities at the different pantries? Because that way, once they hit their limits are done, whether they hit one pantry or they've hit 10 pantries. But if it allows them to get the food they need for a larger period than 3 days or a week, maybe a whole month, that might be of value because we want people to eat. We certainly don't want them to starve. So anyway, so let's talk about how I disable this. Let's say I don't want to do it anymore. So we have a couple options. The easiest is just go to the tracking method that's driving this. And this is the food. This is the food. Pantry food is what that association is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to settings, tracking methods, and then I'm going to go down here to pantry food. I'm going to edit it. And then all I got to do is change it from the food association to choose one. Once I do that and hit save, and I were to go back and look, you're going to see a lot different world now. I'm only going to see Pantry A visits. I'm not going to see Don's Pantry. I'm not going to see Pantry B. I'm only seeing Pantry A because you disabled the association link. That's all we're doing, right? So if I were to go here and then say done, and let's look at Terry, because Terry is at both locations too, right? I just gave Terry a visit today. But now when I go and look, it's all Pantry A. There's no Pantry B or Don's Pantry being recorded. Same thing goes when I go to Pantry B. Pantry B is part of the association, right? Because we can check that. Go to settings, tracking methods, and then we go to pantry food, and we'll just verify that. And yeah, they're in the food association, which is perfect. Now when I go to new visit, and I go down here and I pull up Don, and I go to visit history, I'm still only seeing Pantry B new, but because I'm in the association, it won't see new Pantry A visits, but it will see the old Pantry A visits prior to them turning it off. So because they're now turned off, new visits won't get recorded, so other people in the association won't see it. So, but they will see historically what activity you did do when you were in that association. So that's why we'll still see some A and B. Now, the other one is off completely because they got out, so they're not going to see anything. But because we're still involved, we're still seeing information for those visits prior to the A leaving. We're still seeing that visit activity. Same thing would be with Don's Pantry. But once again, to be sure you understand, you're not sharing data between one or the other. And how it basically works along those lines is this. If someone comes into Pantry A, right, and I go to be done, I say done, and you create a new client. So we'll just call this Pete Jones, right? We'll just do it really quick. Total individuals 1, and then we're going to do a simple address 123 city P state AZ. Zip code 85029. Let's just simple, easy, just so we can do the demo, right? And I'm going to save. Now it's going to tell me what's required if there's something required. Cell phone, I'm going to fill this out, 555, 555, 5555. I'm going to do my gender. Now, if you don't have a binary, if you don't want a binary and you're using a binary and you don't want one, you can make a custom field and make a custom gender field and turn this one off so you have exactly what you need. I was born today, let's say, and I would just call myself Caucasian. There we go. And I'd say save. All right, so I have this one at 123, and an 85029. Okay, Pete Jones. Now, because I've turned off my association link, I'm going to turn it back on so that I can do this demonstration here. So I'm going to go back to settings, tracking methods, and then I'm going to go back to pantry food, edit it, and then choose that link and put it back in. Remember, we disabled it just a minute ago. All right. So now that I'm working with Pete, I don't have a visit for him yet. I'm going to go ahead and pull him up and do it. I don't remember his last name off the top of my head, so I'm just going to do Pete here. There we go, Pete Jones. All right, so boom, there's Pete. I'm going to go ahead and give Pete a visit now. Photo ID, pantry. There's no association. It's his first time here. Say visit. And I'm done. He's got a visit. Because I'm part of the association, I'll see A, B's, and Don's pantry. But he hasn't been anywhere but here. He's brand new. So that's why we only see pantry A. Now I'm going to be done. Now here's the magic. So here's where we're not sharing data. We're not exposing anyone's data. We're not looking at other databases. We're doing none of that. But this is how. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go here. Now Pete showed up at my agency. Hi Pete. First time seeing you. Nice to see you. Right? So I'm going to tab. I'm going to do Jones. Oh, there's no Jones. All right, let me do a search for Pete just to make sure. Yep, I don't have Pete Jones in here. Okay, so I'm going to create a new record. Now, here's what I just did, in case you haven't noticed it. Pete Jones is not in my system. Pete Jones is part of the association, though. Even though he's part of the association, I'm not going to see his data. Pete has to give it to me first. So Pete's going to say, my first name is Pete, right? I'll do that. My last name is Jones. I don't know what this database requires. I'll figure that out in a minute. I got one person in my home. What's your address, Pete? Well, I'm at 123. My city is irrelevant. I'm going to do P, though. I'm going to do the state, AZ, and then my zip code is 85029. I'm like, great, thanks, Pete. So I do that. And I go up here. I don't know what it's going to require. I'm going to hit save. Nope, didn't require anything at all. If I go to visit history, oh my gosh, how is he in here already? Well, he's in here because this address matches a visit in the association database for Pantry A. Now, he didn't show that earlier because he wasn't in my system. So I had to enter him in my system to even participate in that. So it isn't a situation where we go to Pantry A and grab it. No, we don't do that at all. You have to put it in first. And if that address matches the other agency's visit by address for that Pete character, then yeah, it'll work perfectly. 123 PAZ 85029. Yeah, absolutely. Those match. So that's why we're seeing it. And that's how it works. So that's why A, you're not sharing data. B, you're not getting in anyone else's database. All you're doing is because you've agreed to share association visits, you're allowed to look at the table as part of the system and then see if there's been any visits. Now, if we say, because remember, this one allows 2 a week, because 1 a week is taken, I can still give Pete a visit. Now, because it's not saying exceeded uses, because I've looked here that it is a Pantry A, I don't know, maybe I'd want to mark association visit too. That would be something your group has to decide. Assuming you're going to go and check this each time, you might not. So in that case, you might just want to leave it and then just do pantry food, and only when you see exceeded uses, which tell you that they're going above and beyond your limitations, right, by any combination of agencies to get there that are part of that. So anyway, be aware of that. Play with this. I think there'd be great things you can learn using it, but you want to take the attitude of, I'm trying to learn what's happening, not, I don't want to give people food, because we all know that's not what we do. We're here to feed people. We love the people we serve. We wish we could give them so much more, but our resources are limited, and they are limited. So its best way to manage your resources is to know what's happening. And that's what this is all about. Well, anyway, thank you all very much. If you have any questions or would like to learn more about associations, please contact our support line, foodbankmanager.com. You'll see all in our contact us details. We're here to help you out. Thank you so much, and you have a great day.